All right, thanks for staying with us now. According to Kelvin Harrison and Tony Boyd, University of Manchester, ideologies are associated with power structures. Now, politicians seek power. It's as simple as that. Their ideology and the social, economic, and political circumstances of the time influence what they do with that power when they have achieved it. Now, indeed, it is impossible to separate the two. This applies even to those who deny having an ideology. Now, the use of power always takes place in a framework of ideology. So today we are discussing the political parties in Nigeria, and we're asking, are they in a quest for power, or are they ideological in their journey? Now, what do you think? Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at PlusTvAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So I want to bring in Jude in a minute. So I just want to hear your thoughts. Power or ideology?
Power or ideology? People will always gravitate towards power because that's the currency. Ideology is just maybe someone who truly
related
believes.
to your country. Do we believe our politicians are for
I do not
ideologies
believe
of
that in 100 politicians there are 5 of them with ideologies. I do not believe that.
Oh, wow.
We even have up to 5?
I do not think so. No, really, I do not think so, because, I mean, if you go by the antecedent, by everything that we have seen, one day PDP, next tomorrow APC, I mean, they just keep moving. And if we're talking ideology, each of these parties have their own ideologies. So it literally tells me that you do not even understand what the party is about. You're just going there because you feel that it gives you the
platform
best,
might give you
exactly the best platform to further your political career.
Absolutely.
That's what works in Nigeria.
Because even the Peter that we like, he left a party when they didn't choose him as the flag bearer. So is it about your power hustle or about what we really want? Because at the end of the day, we all know, except by his one miracle, it's either PDP or APC. In America too, they do it, Democrats or Republicans, even though there are other parties represented. We know this. So if you know there's a platform that seems to have a higher probability of getting into government, does it matter whether or not you're the flag bearer?
All right, Jude Feranmi Adejuwon is the convener of Raising New Voices Initiative, a civil society organization focused on raising the next generation of ethical and development-minded political leaders in Nigeria and leveraging technology to advance democracy and citizens' engagement with their leaders. Now, he is also the practice lead for HEI Innovation at Co-Creation Hub, Africa's biggest innovation hub. And he's a politician, I might add. And running for office, I believe. Thank you so much for joining us. Jude, are you there?
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so I mean, this is a fantastic conversation to have because, again, while there's a lot of drama going on, PDP, APC, somebody sending running mate or not sending running mate, somebody going for hot political schedule, a big campaign schedule, busy schedule, there is still a conversation that must be heard, right? And this conversation is hinged on this. And that's why I feel like in Nigeria, that's why we might never, ever get to that point where we begin to understand what real governance is, because we have not solved this problem of ideology, right, and power. So it's not like people say God forbid. It's not like it's a curse until the people, the electorate understand and begin to demand certain things, which is part of what you stand for. What are your ideologies, right? If we begin to ask the right questions, I believe that maybe this transformation that we seek in this country, we might eventually find it. But as long as we're still cross-carpeting and it's still a game of PDP, APC, Labour Party, and all of those things, we might never get a headway. So, I mean, you are a politician. You've done a lot of work extensively with the young minds and all of that. When you look at the political parties in Nigeria, right, is the obvious question, but if you believe that they deal with power, not ideologies, why? Why would you say that? Or if you believe that they have ideologies, then please let us know what these ideologies are, because I cannot find any.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I've enjoyed the conversation so far. And I might be saying some things that you probably disagree with. But in the beginning, like let's be clear about what ideology is. And I really appreciate how you started with a definition, more like a dictionary definition of what ideology is within the political context. It's a set of ideas that says that this is how we want to order society. And the first thing we need to all agree on is that anybody who is in governance or who is elected or who has political power in Nigeria has a body of ideas that they're working with. That's the first thing we need to agree on. Like, people don't just say we're just going to govern, like we're just going to govern haphazardly. It does, even though Nigeria is the way it is right now. Whether those body of ideas are wrong ideas or they are right ideas, whether those body of ideas are printable. By printable, I mean you can say this is you can go to public and say this is what we believe in how we should order society, or whether they're not is a different matter entirely. So our first place to start really is to agree that whoever is in government, whoever is elected, whether at the councillor level or at the presidential level, there is a body of ideas that determines the kind of programs and policies that the person or that the group of persons, in this case, would govern with. That's the first thing. The second thing is, in Nigeria, we tend to focus on these cross-carpeting as evidence that political parties...
It's the absence of ideologies. That's why that's what we think, yes.
That's why they're cross-carpeting. Yeah. So if we've all agreed, and I don't know if you agree with me, right? But if we all agree that ideology is not good. I mean, it's like you have a gun, right? You can use a gun to defend, and you can use a gun to murder, right? Soldiers use guns to defend our country. That's the work of a gun, right? Robbers use guns, and kidnappers use guns to maim and to destroy. That's the way ideology is. It's a set of ideas. Some of those ideas are good. So you say capitalism, right? Entrepreneurship, welfareism, utilitarianism. These are some of the ideas that are printable. They are printable body of ideas that people have used to develop their own societies. So I'll give you an example. Governor Rauf Aregbesola, former governor of Osun State, is if you really get philosophical with him, he will tell you that he's a utilitarian. And what that means is that utilitarianism is a body of ideas, an ideology that says that we are going to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people, while admitting that we cannot serve everybody, right? But whatever it is that we're doing, our ideology is that we are going to do what is the greatest good, and how can it serve the greatest number of people, even though we know it will not serve everybody. That's the ideology of a utilitarian, right? And on like that. So this question about do our political parties have ideologies or don't they have ideologies? They have ideologies. The ideologies are probably not printable. In some instances where the way that they govern, there is an idea, there's a body of ideas, there's a level of thinking that goes into the way that they govern. So when you see someone says, okay, for example, they're very corrupt, and they believe that when they pass the budget after the House of Assembly in a state, for example, or at National Assembly at the federal level, passes the budget, that 15% of whatever contracts is going out should come back as kickbacks to serve the political structure that they're building, so that they can continue to stay in power. That's an idea. You have the policy and the programs that they carry out within that body of ideas will dictate whether they're able to build enough hospitals, or whether the teachers in schools are going to get paid, or whether they're going to devote money for refreshments and more cars and new cars than devote money for hustle. You know, these are the things that will determine the kind of policies and programs that they carry out in government. And that is what an ideology is. So you probably cannot put a name to it and say that ideology is corruptionism or
okay,
right? The body of ideas behind that governance. We need to be clear about that. Okay. Do you want to ask, or should I?
Yeah. So Lady wanted to come in just for a minute. Then you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, let me come in. Am I here? First of all, with the name tag Emiloko, that alone, as a slogan that we have all accepted, should let you know that it's a power quest. It's not about ideology. Because I said to people, the first time we dealt with it when he made the statement, I said, this man has told himself that before I leave this world, I'm going to be the president of Nigeria, and nobody can take it away from me. So even though he has a group of people that they all claim they have the same ideology, that same mentality, entitlement, it is my right, as if it's a monarchy, proves to us across the board of all the different parties that they don't deal with ideology. If you don't give me the flag, whether I can hold it with my hand not trembling or not, I'm moving to another place. It's not about ideology. We can say that the ideal thing for our people is that these people actually go with a set of ideologies, if we keep wanting to use that word, to say, this is our plan. But we know, except we want to kid ourselves, that every single person that has come out is for political, personal career plan and what they told themselves they were going to be. Nobody has the love for humankind in this Nigeria.
Do you agree with that?
He's smiling.
So I don't disagree with what she just said in principle, but even what she said is an ideology. Emilokon is an ideology.
A what?
Right?
Emilokon is not an ideology. It is not.
Where democracy started from. Right? There was a body of ideas that said the way to organize society is to separate a special group of people that will take turns in governing the state. That was the ideology. When the whole idea of democracy first started, then women couldn't vote. If a young man, you couldn't vote. This idea of voting when you turned 18 started from there, right? So nobody has questioned why is it that he's not 17 or 19 or 21, right? So it's Emilokon is an ideology. It is. And to be honest with you, and I'm really going deep here, right? The whole Progressives Congress within a number of states, and I will stick to the Southwest because I'm very, very conversant with politics there, right? The whole Progressives Congress within the Southwest has this body of ideas as central to the politics that they play within the party, right? So it's a turn-by-turn democracy, and some people can call it aristocracy, you can call it whatever name, but it is an ideology. That is an ideology, but is it a good ideology or a bad ideology? Is your ideology predicated on love for humanity and the progress of the nation, or enriching yourselves and your cronies for years and years to kingdom come? Right? So that's why I started with that fundamental issue that we need to see ideology as a tool, as neutral. Right? Ideology is just like describing.
So we are not the one that would define what ideology means to Jonathan. Everybody has their own definition. So whether you agree with their own definition of what their own ideologies are, that's up to you. That's what I hear you say.
About that.
Ideology, you want to come in?
Are we arguing about that?
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
So I mean,
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
No, please let's hear the contribution so that I don't talk too much.
Okay, so for me, I hear everything you have said, and I get that it's very individualistic. You get to decide. Whatever name it now comes to. But the question for me is, ideology, is it a function of our political leaders? Are they getting away with this, or should it be that we as the electorate, the people, if we know better, then we will be able to demand better, because we would now have a full understanding of what the right ideologies should be? Because, again, we keep going back and forth on the way forward, how to rule this nation. It's a multi-layered nation. It's a whole lot of complexity and all that. So I'm not very sure that having one person say that, okay, my own body of ideology, my own thought pattern on how this country should work, should be on that basis.
I love where you're going, Adiola, and wait, let me also add to that. Then we'll then quickly go on a break. I was going to say, because where I hear Adiola going to is the fluidity.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Abroad, we already know what the Democrats stand for. What
exactly.
the Republicans, the whole world knows what their ideologies are. So are we allowed now as Nigerians to let these politicians be fluid with what an ideology should be? But you know what? You will answer that question. Let's quickly go on a very short break. When we come back, I would like for you to answer that question. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, before we went on the break, I was Adiola asked a very fantastic question. We're trying to understand, and please help us here, right? If you're tuned in, we're discussing political parties in Nigeria. Is it a quest for power or ideological, right? And we have with us Jude Adejuwon. He's here with us. We're Feranmi Adejuwon. He's here with us, right? Before we went on the break, we were asking about the fluidity of this ideology. Right, because I think that's why we have a problem in this country. We should have a blueprint, for goodness sake. Anybody that falls in, you fall in line. You understand? It's the same way Dubai have a structure. They have a blueprint. Anybody that comes in tomorrow, if you're like, you see, what Jerry Rawlings had said about Ghana, that even if it was the devil that came to want to lead Ghana, the devil will know that this is the structure, and the devil must follow the plan. Yes. So the fluidity that you are telling us now, you're giving these politicians access to just decide. So this one will wake up tomorrow and say, this is what my own ideologies are. This one wakes up and say, should we allow that, or we should start to demand some level of standardized structure that we say, okay, this is what we are.
This is what we want as a people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you very much. I really am enjoying the conversation. One thing you should know, and that everybody should know, is that politicians don't change their ideologies. They don't. People don't go from I'm in APC today, so I want to go. It is quest for power that takes people from one political party.
Absolutely.
Right? But politicians don't change their ideology. We just don't know. Because those ideas are not printable. Right? They cannot which politician will come to you now and tell you that his own thought pattern or body of ideas about governance in Nigeria is to steal money take 15% of every project for all the contracts that they award to build his own wealth treasure chest. Nobody will come out to say that, right? So it is and take this from me, right? As our democracy matures, it will become obvious over the years, and this thing that we see with Democrats and Republicans will become even clearer in our own democracy as well. But the main thing that you need to take away is that politicians don't change their ideologies. Somebody who thinks, I made an example of Governor Adejuwon, for example, right? Governor Adejuwon who claims publicly that he's a utilitarian, right? And that is a core belief of how he thinks that government policies and programs should be carried out. He will not change that if he gets to APC, right? Or if he leaves and goes to Labour Party now or SDP, he wouldn't change that core belief of how society should be ordered, right? So what the duty is from our own hand as citizens is to hold them accountable. So what politicians in Nigeria do is that they say that I believe that investment in human capital, education, healthcare, and social security services for the most vulnerable portion of our population is what we should focus on. That's a body of ideas when it comes to ordering society. But when it gets into office, right, when it's campaigning, this is what it tells you. When it gets into office, it does something completely different. And we don't have, until recently, right, we've not had an electoral system that gives Nigerians the power to say that this is what you said before you got in, and this is what you've now done when you got in, and you're a liar. So therefore, we're not going to send you back to office, right? And if we do that over and over and over, now we have an electoral act that has been signed. I must make mention of that, right? An electoral act that has been signed that actually gives citizens the power to actually remove people in a transparent manner, that on the day of election at the polling unit, when you go out to vote, right, and the results come out on your own polling unit on election day, you can already see that this is the person who won, is uploaded to a central server that somebody even in the United States of America can be following with. So the power is already with citizens of Nigeria now to say that this particular politician who says this is his own body of ideas and he gets into office and says and does something different, right? We need to punish him by ensuring he doesn't go back there and then voting accordingly. Right. Okay, so I think that's the first thing I want to say regarding that. Another important thing I must mention, right, is that, and I think everybody would agree with me on this, there are no political parties in the sense of organizations as there are political structures. I will say that again. There are no political parties in Nigeria in the sense of an organization as there are political structures. So you can look at an Adejuwon Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for example, who was former governor of Lagos State. And everybody who has followed him since those days, like about 80% of them are still following him up to now. And that's the political structure that he has. It's a followership. In the United States of America or in the UK or in South Korea, that would be a political party on its own. Because they have a leader, they have a body of ideas. They agree that, okay, when you want to recruit leadership, it is from within this political structure that you recruit leaders, right? And then that goes on as well. And those kind of political structures usually have political ideologies, strong political ideologies, I must even say, right? That when you say you want to go and become, when we're doing students, we call it school of thoughts, right? If you belong to Adejuwon school of thoughts, there is a particular way that you think. If you belong to Omoyele Showore's school of thought, right, who is my very dear, who is running as presidential candidate for AAC, right, there's a particular school of thought that is unique to that political structure. So what we should be seeing is that these different political structures that have known leaders, at times more than one leader, right, and a good example of that is the People's Democratic Movement, which now morphed into PDP, led then by Shehu Yaradua of blessed memory. That's the elder brother of former late president Umaru Yaradua, right? They had the People's Democratic Movement, which was like a movement. They had a central political ideology. They had young people who are now old now, who were members of that school of thought, and there was a strong political ideology that bounded them. So people like Governor Sule Lamido of Jigawa State, former Governor Sule Lamido, former VP of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, you take a number of them all across the north, they belong to that political movement. And now they morph into the People's Democratic Party, and that central group has a political ideology. So, I could go on and on and on and on, but we go really deep into the details of the politics of our country, you find that everybody has a body of ideas. This body of ideas are mostly unique and stronger in political structures, not political parties. Okay, and the political structures can then move containers. They can move from Labour Party to SDP to AA to AAC, right? But there's a way that they think about governance in Nigeria. Okay. And when they come to us, they tell us something different, everything that they want to hear. When they get into governance, into power, they carry out the programs and their policies based on their own programs and their own political ideology. Absolutely. I think I'll just stop here for now.
Okay. Teacher, I want to say something. Teacher, I want to say I like, because I never heard it expressed that way, that there is a political structure which is usually not a party, which is what they tend to practice in Nigeria. You remember I said here a few weeks ago that if Tinubu woke up tomorrow and said, I'm joining PDP, 60% of the people that say they're APC will follow him. Yeah. That's structure, not a political party. It's the man they like. Exactly. Now, about Nigeria, the solution to our problems are not rocket science. Sure. I've been waiting to use that English for the past 10 minutes. The solution to our problems are not rocket science. We know what our issues are. Even a 10-year-old that has gone through primary school knows what the problems of Nigeria is and are. All these adults that stay there and say they have, what do they call it? Ideology. It's not necessary. As Nigerians, we should give them our ideology. And like Rollins said, if you don't do what we say you should do, you leave. It's not about the party. It's about the service you give the people. If your service does not fall in line with the people's ideology, we keep complaining about, oh, it seems Dubai had a plan for their people. It seems the UK have a plan for its people. That's why someone like, it was this lady's name that spent 49 days in the office. That's why someone like her would come in and say, oh, I'm not doing what the people said I should do. Let me resign. You get?
Yeah, let him answer the question.
I have nothing else to add to what she said. Absolutely correct.
So let me then, let's bring it back home, right? How do we as a people begin to push for some level of structure that this is our benchmark? This is what we would benchmark as an ideal structure of what we should base governance on. Because if we're able to do that as a people, I am very 100% sure that things will definitely change, right? Yep. Quest for power will always be there. Political leaders will always want to have power, but now they know not to
consequences.
Yes, not to mess up, because there is the citizens, right? The office of the citizen that have put a standard that they must follow. So how do we as the people now begin to set up silently these ideologies of what we believe good governance should look like in the country?
Yep.
You will be surprised how much power you have as an individual to be able to influence how people think. And I'm not a fan of, and I'm sure you guys know this. There are some people who say the way to change Nigeria is for everybody in Nigeria to just, change. Like the change begins with me mantra that Honorable Lai Mohammed, Minister Lai Mohammed started in the first admission of APC, and say if everybody in Nigeria just change at once, then Nigeria will be better. Everybody should stop being corrupt. Then I am not a fan of that kind of solution, because it cannot happen, right? If it does not happen anywhere in the world, that everybody wants, like maybe someone will just be preached and everybody will change. And then,
everybody will give their life to Christ. We'll always have bad
exactly. It will never happen, right? But to answer your question directly, right? What I think should be because it has a geometric effect. How much influence you have in your estate, right? If you have, let us agree on what our own ideology is as citizens, and then politicians will know that this is exactly what Nigerians want. If they don't do it, they will leave. The way to get that national agreement about a body of ideas that we think governance should look like in Nigeria is that we have to build up to it, right? We have to increase the momentum from in Lagos State. Everybody knows that you don't win this particular estate, or there are a couple of estates in Festac. If you don't win, you don't go there to go and win election in those places, because people there have a body of ideas that they believe should be the way they should govern them, right? And if you are not saying these things that align with what they believe, right, then you won't win election there, right? So anybody who is going to become councillor in Festac will know that these are the body of ideas that I have to go to. right? It will not, the spread will not, that effect will not happen at national level suddenly, right? But we can grow into it in such a way that politicians now know that there are consequences for if they work against that body of that ideology about governance that will believe that Nigeria should be governed like. And I mean, I know that's like almost like a theoretical answer, right? Getting practical. If you say that I am a 3, and maybe I'm going to give you guys this challenge, right? Write down 5 ideas. 5, maybe not, let me not say ideas. Write down 5 issues in these 2023 elections that you personally care about. Maybe your top 5 issues that you care about in Nigeria, right? Write them down. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. When you do that, say that this is exactly on number 1, electricity. This is what I think any government that I want to support is supposed to do on electricity. Number 2, security. This is what I want the person to do. Number 3, this is what I want the person to do. If anybody that wants to get elected that I want to vote for does not believe in these ideas, right, I'm not going to vote for them. You are already creating that ideology on a personal basis.
Yep.
Now, because you are very influential in your estates, and your gatesman knows that if the person wants, when it comes to elections and you want to have conversations, your gateman is clear about what you stand for and why you are voting for the person that you're voting for, right? When you go to the community meeting or the estates meeting, when you once in a while, or maybe even on the WhatsApp group, you clearly can say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And I'll give maybe a practical example here is the Hand SARS movement, where we had a 5 for 5
demand. It was very clear.
It was clear. It was clear. So have that list as a person. And I on a personal note, I do as well. I'm actually a one-person voter for 2023, right? And the person I'm voting for is very, very clear on restructuring Nigeria, because I believe that that's the very, very strong issue that cuts across the security structure.
It cuts across everything.
It concerns everybody.
It cuts across the economy of the states, governors, whether the governors have autonomy over their own states, whether Lagos State or Rivers State is fighting over VAT, and who's supposed to be fighting or collecting VAT in the states and company income, So I'm a one-person voter for 2023, right? But you can have, if you're thinking about an ideology that Nigerians should hone and that politicians should be aware of, it crescendos, that momentum builds up. In your own estate, everybody knows, on the WhatsApp, everybody knows that these are the 5 issues that you think that we should be addressing. And before you know it, you start influencing other people, right? On the WhatsApp, somebody will say, yes, I agree with what this auntie is saying, right? And these 5 issues are the top issues that we should. And when you come, and by the time you dovetail it down to how it impacts your own estate.
So it then have like a ripple effect.
On everything.
All right, let me take some comments. For me, politics here is centered on personality rather than ideology. Unfortunately, while debates are taken seriously in advanced countries where ideologies are laid bare to enable the voters to make informed decisions, not so in Nigeria, because traditional electorate made up of artisans, market women will see this talk as academic. Who has said we should have a blueprint. Yes, that is ideal. But the realism is that politicians know that those of us speaking grammar hardly go to vote. So the politicians are found dangling the carrot because of the vulnerability of the populace, and which is 100% true. Then let's take another comment, and Lydia, I'll come to your comment. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? Lydia took the words right out of my mouth. Though ideology should be the watchword, the genuine one for that matter, but politicians don't put it into consideration. Instead, they concentrate on power alone. They can never be, that can never be good governance. They feel that it is not them, that if it is not them, then it is nobody. This is so unfortunate and sad about Nigeria. We Nigerians are too power conscious without performance. Sister, I hope you enjoyed your birthday on Friday because that's what matters. Thank you so much. I did. So let me take one final comment. I'll come to you. A political party without ideology is just a mere association of people without direction, focus, and any vision. Without direction, focus, and any vision. That's why today we are surrounded with rulers, emperors, and not leaders. How about Nigeria? Yeah, go ahead.
My friend, I hope it wasn't me he was talking to because I don't like these comments. My friend, you are interpreting the term ideology in the loose sense. Ideology in political parties should be those principles, values, and ideas the political parties uphold with which every Tom, Dick, and
Harry, Corey.
he didn't put Tom there, so I was stumped. Which every Tom, Dick, and Harry in those parties subscribe to and promote. Political ideology should not be dependent on the candidate running for the political office alone, but to all in the party. In America, Democrats know what they believe in as a party, and Republicans know what they value and believe. Political parties in Nigeria are all about power, and that is why you see one person jumping from one political party to the other. In America, if you cross from Democrats to Republicans, you will be treated as a suspect because of the, seriously, because of the political ideologies they uphold. When they all agree on what abortion should be and should not be, and then you are changing. I'm done.
Is that done? Okay, so quickly. Santos, thank you so much for this. I mean, Jude, you can't escape this one. You understand? I don't think we have. So if you were to define what an ideology based on standard, let's follow standard though. Let's not follow Nigeria. What should ideologies represent?
Yep.
So we wrap up.
I agree with Santos, right? And let me just say for practical purposes, because of also the person that said it's almost looking like an academic exercise. For practical purposes, we will begin to see our political parties become ideological organizations when we punish them through the ballot. The only reason why politicians can move from one place to another is because they cannot be punished. The only reason why political parties don't care about ideology in Nigeria or what their ideology is, or even because in some instances, when a member of a political party that's elected is going against the ideology of the party, in some instances, the party would probably disown the person. There are instances like that. Because they know that the people would punish them for harboring somebody who is against the ideology of the political party, right, at the next polls. In Nigeria, we don't punish anybody.
So we need to start punishing.
Yes.
Exactly. And what that punishment means is what one of the persons who sent in the comment is that politicians in Nigeria know that we don't come out to vote. It's the Yalasa.
So the punishment would be us coming out to vote. But you know, quickly, I just wanted to say that I know that the new Electoral Act, if you cross carpet and you won under a particular party, you cannot move with the seat. You leave the seat behind and move. So which is also checkmating some of all of these things that you're talking about. But we ran out of time. But thank you so much, Jude. I mean, we're having so much fun. We forgot that
I don't like politics. I enjoyed the conversation.
It was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much. We hope to bring you back again and again and again. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Larry.
Bring me back.
All right, before we go, ensure you follow us all over social medias at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media, like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed our very important quote today, here it is again. The greatest power is not money power, but political power. Biko, all of us are speaking grammar here. I hope you have your PVCs and you are ready to punish anybody that does not plan well for Nigeria. I mean, that's what you just said. Let us punish these people so that they know that the power truly lies within us. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy. Nice one.